Welcome, welcome everyone. It is so excellent to have all of you here today for our third workshop as part of the capacity building series that we've been hosting here at the Joan Ganz Cooney Center. If you haven't attended the first two of these workshops, they are available online. The first 30 minutes of the workshops are available online on our website if you want to check those out. Today's focus is on content and platform innovation with youth. So hopefully this is where you intended to land today, and we're happy to have you here. So just to give folks a little bit of an overview, if you haven't already been with us for one of these workshops, the flow of today is going to be a little bit of a welcome here. We're going to transition to a featured roundtable discussion today. We are so delighted to have our colleagues from the Center for Scholars and Storytellers with us, and including some members of their youth engagement team. Then we will sit back and listen to me talk for a few minutes about a forthcoming research brief on this same topic that we want to give you a heads up on and hope you will read when it's published in a few weeks. Then we will have a breakout that will be a random groups of two debrief breakout. We'll quickly transition to a longer, more substantive breakout that will be co-moderated by some of the Joan Ganz Cooney Center Youth Fellows that are part of this project. And then we'll have some time to do some sharing and synthesis as we send you underway. So without further ado, just to give people a sense, if you've landed here randomly, what this is about. Our team is the Next Gen Media Project, we call ourselves, but the long title of this project is By with For Youth, Inspiring Next Gen Public Media Audiences. We are a research development and field building initiative, and we're really trying to support the public media sector as it evolves to serve younger audiences, older than the early childhood audiences, but younger than the general audience. So we feel it's really important to focus on tweens and teens specifically. This is grounded in research we did during the first phase of this project, where we talked to 50 kids across the country and really found that there was this huge gap, both in content that was relevant to them, but also a gap in the desire that they had to have more engaging and educational content that they could trust from public media. So we think there's a real opportunity here to serve this audience better. Our North Star in this project is really drawing from the inspiration of Sesame Street. And we feel as though we are sort of carrying on this spirit of supporting a fundamental evolution in how public media approaches teen and tween programming. So Joan Ganz Cooney really sparked the inspiration with her research to form, really a movement around public media and early childhood ed. And we want to create these conditions for a lifelong engagement with public media that also address the needs of tweens and teens. So I'm going to actually not talk about the research brief until a little bit later. There's a quick preview. Right now, I am going to introduce our esteemed guests, and we're going to transition to a fishbowl discussion. So join me in the fishbowl, Yalda Uls, who's the director of the Center for Scholars and Storytellers at UCLA. We are joined by her colleague, Maya Hernandez, and we also have some special guests who have been part of their youth engagement team. So I'm going to stop my share. And Leslie, would you mind moving us into our featured room? Thank you. Wonderful. So today we are joined not only by Yalda and Maya, who are the adults who help to run the Center for Scholars and Storytellers program, but also by Ellie, Davina, and Zach, who are all members of the youth engagement team. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for taking the time to join us here today. So Yalda, it's so lovely to have you here. I wanted to just start out by inviting you to tell us a little about CSS, your vision for the center, but also specifically how you have worked directly with youth, and what youth engagement models have worked for you in the program. What's been most successful and what's been most challenging in the work that you do?
Well, it's funny. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Yalda Uhls, founding director of the Center for Scholars and Storytellers, which is at UCLA. And it's funny, Mary, seeing that slide where you said you want to meet the needs of tweens and teens with public media. I came to the exact same conclusion for entertainment media, which public media is as well. But for those shows on Netflix and Disney and YouTube and all the places, social media, gaming, all those places that young people gather. And I have the same inspiration and say the same thing. Sesame Street and Joan Gans Cooney changed it, at Disney, at Warner's. Anybody who does preschool programming, they consult with developmental psychologists. They bring in consultants, but they don't do that for tweens and teens. And it kind of is that vast wasteland. So we really try to work with these companies to inspire them and to really meet their needs. I am a former storyteller. I spent 15 years as a movie executive and then got a PhD in developmental psychology. So I feel as I have this deep expertise in both these arenas and can bridge these worlds. So that really was fundamental to founding the center. The youth piece has always been something I've cared about. I used to run the Los Angeles office of Common Sense Media. I started a youth council there. When we launched the center, really, we bootstrapped. I didn't pay myself because we weren't making any money. We didn't have any big donors. We really we had my passion and my ability and privilege to be able to dedicate my time to this. And then a whole bunch of wonderful volunteers and people that just really cared. So the main thing I want to say is we iterated, we did what we could with the resources we had. And we've now gotten to the point where we have a model we're very excited for. So the first year, what we did was I just asked all my friends' kids to join our youth council. And I knew that I wanted tweens and teens, mainly it was teens, 13 to 17, to be able to, I wanted to help them lift their voice and tell storytellers what they care about. What do they want to see? What are they not seeing? What do they, and really help them be constructive. My job when I was a movie executive was to work with writers, and there's an art. You have to learn how to do that, to talk to creative people. So I want to help teens do that. So first year, my friends' kids, highly privileged group. Second year, in school, we decided, okay, we'll partner with the Geffen Academy at UCLA. I sent over an undergrad and a junior person. And that was more of a digital citizenship thing. It was very youth-led in terms of interest, but it wasn't as, we didn't have as much scaffolding. And then the year that Maya came in, we sort of played with different models. We did a town hall with Mike Schur, who created The Good Place. And I think I was very excited about that model. And some of these teens on this call might have joined us because they heard about it. We got a lot of interaction. And then we did and some of these teens will tell you about it. We did a video series, a YouTube series called Teens Are Watching. But then we landed on the current model, which is, and we're doing it this summer with all of these teens, and Ellie's going to tell you how she inspired us to do this. The teen led the inspiration. we are doing a very light touch to teach them about how to do research within their own communities. So this summer, the focus is mental health. They decide what they care about and what mental health means to them. They're going back to their communities and partnering with another team to create a survey that then we're teaching them how to analyze. We're also teaching them the fundamentals of, very lightly, but script reading, how scripts turn into content, how people work with writers to improve scripts. And then we're going to support them in analyzing the data they collect and sharing it with storytellers. So that's what the program is now. We're in our second iteration. Ellie really launched it in the spring, did a great job. Second iteration this summer. And in the fall, we're really gonna, go for it. And we're seeking funding. So always have to say that. So hopefully I didn't dominate too much time and that gave you a good high level view.
Yes, no, that's amazing. And I'm sorry to make you summarize what has been your life's work for many years in just a few moments. This is just a teaser to invite people to dig deeper. And Ellie, oh my goodness, it's so nice to meet you. I've heard so many amazing things about your involvement with the youth engagement team, how you have been leading research. I didn't learn about how to do survey research until I was in grad school, then had a career in it after that. But gosh, I wish I had been able to tap into some of this earlier in my learning. So I'd love to hear about your experience with CSS and why you felt it was important to initiate this research project that would be youth-led and how that would impact content creators.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So my study was on how gender representation in TV affects teen behaviors and aspirations. And that's a particular area of representation that I'm really passionate about. But I initiated it because I wanted to be able to directly communicate with and influence content creators in pursuit of more authentic representation of the teen experience. And one of the things that excites me the most about working with CSS is that opportunity to communicate with content creators. But I found, in order to convince people that authentic representation is important, you need the evidence to prove it. So this study was kind of a way in which I could gather that evidence to demonstrate how teens actually feel about authentic representation and hopefully prove how important it is. And kind of speaking more generally about youth-led research projects, kind of like mine, I think that in order for representation to be truly authentic, the kind of people that a story is about need to have a hand in crafting that story. And that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to get involved with CSS in the first place, is because I noticed that there was a major discrepancy between the stories told about young people on screen and the actual real life experiences of young people. And, additionally, as young people, we know what issues we care about and we know what matters to us. So youth-led research projects can also help content creators and the people making media learn what's important to young people and make content that appeals to that.
That is awesome. I can't wait to read some of that research. I know you're in the process right now of leading some of it, and we look forward to seeing those reports. Please send them to us so we can send them out to our network as well. So Maya, you are a fellow at CSS now and helping to bring some of the research grounding and methods to the table to help mentor the youth who are part of the center. Could you talk a bit about how your research and thinking has informed your approach to CSS and how you're thinking about the role of youth voice, how content creators can avoid, the tendency towards tokenism when working with youth?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here to hear all the amazing youth voices as well. But I think for me, I'm currently in my final year of my PhD, and I have over a decade's time worth of research. And I think the one gap that I always see, especially working with tweens and teens, is that we are not integrating their voices enough, even in very traditional academic approaches. And so I've really spent a lot of time during my PhD finding ways to lead with evidence-based research, but also integrating the youth voice and youth perspectives. I primarily focus on social media and digital media more generally, and both the risks and the opportunities of media for adolescent development. And so in doing that, I've also recognized that media landscapes and media ecosystems are changing so quickly to the point that it's hard for us to keep up with it. And so I think one of the best solutions to that is going to the ground level and really just asking the tweens and teens themselves and having them very much engaged in the process of research, which is what inspired me to really use frameworks like youth participatory action research, participatory co-design, in order to really elevate the youth voice in the process. And so I have the good fortune of working with YALDA and CSS, and had really pushed in the beginning when in first working with YALDA that I really wanted to create a more robust youth engagement piece to the center. And I'm really lucky that we got to meet Ellie and Davina and Zach. And I think it's been such an honor and amazing experience to see it evolve. And I think that's also another thing. It's okay that it changes and that we have to do many iterations, because I think the more that we learn from the teens themselves, I think we're able to kind of create a more robust and meaningful experience for both the adults and the teens and tween experts in the room.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know, Maya, you worked with Davina, right? Davina, you are one of the participants in the current research study, or was it a previous one? Can you tell us a little bit about what your involvement has been with researching teens and learning about their media use, and how, that can translate into more authentic representation?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be talking to you all today. So Maya was my first introduction to CSS. She was the first youth coordinator that I worked with, and she really introduced this world of research and what CSS does in terms of like bringing together psychology research with like teen media and improving the media that my generation consumes. So I've been involved in doing some of the research, like working with Ellie in her project, as well as this summer coordinating my own research project, which has been really cool. And so I'm just learning about like various aspects of research, and I've been really enjoying it so far.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us here today. And last but not least, Zach, welcome, welcome. I'm excited to hear how you got involved with CSS, and specifically, what are some of the issues that you think content creators should be aware of when they're thinking about youth audiences?
Sure, thanks so much for having me. So I started this Gen Z platform called Talk with Zach because I knew that a lot of teens are more interested in peer-to-peer conversations. And through this, I discovered CSS, and I love how it empowers teens to really give honest feedback to content creators about the kinds of issues that we want to see portrayed in the media. And now, through the research that I'm doing, I try to help content creators understand what teens are really responding to versus the stereotypes that adults think teens experience that they place in the media. And now, in terms of issues that content creators should be more aware of, I feel like some of the main ones are like relationship difficulties, academic stress, parental boundaries, social media stress, racism, and gender identity. Those are like some big themes that I've noticed. And I've seen that like adults often inaccurately portray these, and consulting Gen Z would give them much more close to reality view of like what teens actually go through. An example is like, it would really be nice to see parent-child relationships where there's a good communication and the kids rely on their parents for support. I've rarely seen this in media, and that's just like one example of something I'd like to see a lot more frequently. And now I just want to say that we really value the creativity and wisdom of these content creators, and it definitely benefits everyone where the content really resonates with teens so they could see themselves reflected and validated in the media that they watch.
Can I just jump in and say that parent-child thing is so important, and that has been one insight that we've gotten from teens and people we've talked to, and we're doing further research on that. But at least in entertainment media, often in teen programming, the adults are gone. Like there is nothing. So anyway, stop. Sorry, I hijacked.
No, that is honestly the first time I've heard that insight, and it is so true. It's so true. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Zach. So I want to put out another question to the youth engagement team members. And this relates to just more broadly, sharing any examples of where you've been able to see your insights or analysis or recommendations having a direct impact on the work that content creators are doing. Like, do you have any examples to share of the ways in which you've seen your participation with CSS come to life? Or Maya, you might be the one who has the window into that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can jump in. I mean, this is an early program. The spring was the first time we started, but I do think you could talk about your conversations that you've had with content people. Ellie shared her research with 2 people, and they've just had several people, a screenwriter, come speak to them. I mean, as you all know, and even in fictional content, it takes years to hit the screen. So it's not going to happen for a while, but if you want to share about your conversations or what you learned from not from the research side, but from the content side.
Yeah, Ellie, do you want to tell us a little bit about how that worked? Like the meeting, sharing some of your research and what the feedback was?
So kind of the culmination of the study I did was getting to share our findings with 2 content creators, I think both producers, and that was a really awesome experience because we kind of got to hear from them what it's like on the other side, like what the content creator perspective is. And also it was just a really amazing experience because it was kind of what I was hoping for in the beginning. Like I got to feel like the research I had done had impact. So that was really awesome. And I think, what's great about CSS is they kind of let us, let us pursue kind of areas that we're interested in. And so I think with this summer, we're all doing mental health, but in kind of our own specific areas. So I'm really excited to see how that takes shape and like the impact we have there.
Awesome. And I'm curious to hear, like, as each of you is learning more about the industry and the process, are any of you thinking that you might want to pursue careers in the industry, or has your experience made you more or less interested in the dynamics of the entertainment industry? I'm curious to hear. Davina, are you someone who is on a path towards wanting to be involved in this space as you get older?
Yeah, definitely. For me, art is like a really big part of my life. Like I think I showed a few of you guys. That's one of my pieces. So film and TV and just cinema in general is a big art thing, and I consume a lot of it. I have a big passion for it. So it's definitely something that I do want to pursue as a career in the future, whether it's doing what Yalda does in terms of research or just being part of the behind the scenes and like improving it in that way. And I feel like CSS really opened my eyes to not only just like content creation, but the business side of it and the economic side of it as well, which has all been super informative, and I'm really grateful to have learned about.
Fantastic. And Zach, you mentioned that you have created a space yourself. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so it's called TacoZac. It's a community. You could find it on Instagram at TacoZac. The website's tacozac.org. And on there, I have conversations with other teens and experts about various topics that I think are important. I mentioned a few earlier, whether it's academic stress, anxiety, relationships, whatever it may be. And teens can write in questions to me, and also just like what I'm experiencing, what I'm seeing. And I really just want to break the stigma around opening up and being vulnerable. And then also, I mean, a lot of teens feel like they're alone or just don't know how to deal with these issues. So it's like a combination of both of those.
Wonderful. So you brought up the link to your talk with Zach. Do you want to, if you want to, no pressure, but you can share that in the chat. And also, I know there was some interest potentially in others sharing links to your LinkedIn. If you want to connect with people who are here with us today, we have a lot of amazing people who work with young people who are excited about elevating youth voice. And so just invite you, if you want to share that in the chat with us here. So we have a few more minutes before we end our recording session here, but I wanted to give Yalda a chance just to tee up some of the upcoming work that the center is doing. And also, like, if there are any ways that our community can, either help support or amplify your work, would love to hear about that.
Yeah, so we are doing a nationwide survey of teens that we're hoping to release in the fall. It's very much targeted to what do teens wish was in the content. We also have a summit around mental health, and the teens in we're putting a carrot in front of them that the presentations that we feel are strongest and the research from this summer, we are going to share at least one, possibly two at our summit, which is our second one. It's incredibly, it was just a win-win for everybody. Last year was diversity, equity, inclusion, and now it's intersection of mental health and DEIA. And the way you can support us, sign up for our newsletter, follow us on Instagram, follow us on socials, especially our newsletter. You'll find out right when we have the new research findings. We have another mental health study that's actually really interesting. It's going to come out. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We'll put links and stuff too, and I'm sure this will be shared elsewhere. And I'm so excited that everyone is interested in meeting with these young teens because they're amazing, as you can tell.
Thank you so much, Yalda. This has been wonderful. And I hope any of you who want to stick around, don't feel obligated, but for the next segments of our workshop, we'd love to have you in the discussions, and hope you'll get as much out of that as we expect to be learning from all of you. Wonderful. So now